Happy Easter, everyone. I hope you had a wonderful Easter Sunday. I hope you had a chance to participate in the New York Annual Conference worship service through the videotape, through YouTube clip last Sunday. And if you have not, the YouTube clip is still available at nyac.com. If you can go check it out, I strongly encourage you to do so. Today, second Sunday of Easter, I want to reflect on the Gospel of John, chapter 20, verse 19 through 31. Before we get into the story, I want to state something that may be obvious to you. Jesus' message of salvation is relevant because there's a human suffering. In other words, if everything was all right, if life was perfect, somehow the meaning of Jesus coming to us and bearing the cross and setting us free does not have that depth of the meaning. However, in the midst of the human suffering that we see around us, the message of resurrection, the presence of Jesus Christ has ample meaning. And today, the story begins with the Jesus disciples who locked themselves in a small room, largely because they were afraid. Of course, when they witnessed that people killing Jesus on the cross, they thought to themselves that they may be the next. They were afraid. So they locked themselves in a room to protect themselves, and in the midst of it, somehow locking device of the door does not seem to matter here. Jesus comes into that room, and the first words out of Jesus' mouth is, "Peace be with you. Peace be with you." Jesus could have said, "Did you have to run away?" Jesus could have singled out Peter and say, "Peter, what have you done? Did I tell you that you will betray me?" No, Jesus did not say such a thing. Instead, he just expresses his genuine desire that each of his disciples have peace. I pray, especially in the midst of the COVID-19 crisis, in the midst of us people who are sick, who have lost their loved ones, who are facing financial challenges, who are just having a very difficult time mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I pray that you hear the words of Jesus, "Peace be with you." That's the message of resurrection. Jesus rose from the dead so that he can visit people and tell each one of us to have a peace be with us. The story goes, Thomas, one of the disciples, wasn't there. And he just did not want to believe that Jesus really came to them. After all, how can you believe it? Jesus is dead. And he simply says, "I will not believe it until I can see him face to face. I can touch him with my own hands." Then upon Thomas' statement, Jesus appears again. And again he says, "Peace be with you." But it's interesting, when you think about resurrected Jesus, we think that our image is Jesus with a perfect body, perfect hands. But what he shows to Thomas as a proof of the resurrection is his wounded hand. Somehow, Jesus carries that scar. And as if that scar proves this is truly Jesus. Sometimes, when I'm going through a difficult time, well-meaning people say, "Oh, will be all right, don't worry. Believe in the power of prayer." For whatever reason, that doesn't seem to speak to my soul in the deep suffering. Instead, when Jesus shows his hand with the wounds, it shows, wait a minute, he knows my suffering. He is a true God who can heal me. because he has gone through the suffering of the cross himself. Resurrected body did not have to include his hands. It did not have to include his wounds in his hands. But the proof of resurrection, at least to Thomas, is an invitation to touch his wounds on his hands and on his sides. Sisters and brothers, the Christ knows our suffering. Christ knows our fear. Christ knows our deep anguish. And to us who suffer, Jesus says, the resurrected Jesus says, peace be with you. Amen.